Yes.
Recording in progress. So welcome everyone, and Jeff is back with us. And now I will share the screen, and we will begin. Uh, so let's go here, and say share. Say share again. So to introduce this, um, I want to remind us of a few things. Of a few things, we have the idea of that we discussed. It's a dat and it's a chaim, and so we have this idea of matara, a means. Emtsai is a means, and matara is an end. So if I want to be close to God, that's a good thing. If I want to be God, that's a bad thing. If I want to give tzedakah, that's a good thing. If I give away all of my money, that's a bad thing. So I've made an end of the tzedakah itself, a goal, instead of a means to do a mitzvah, so to speak. Now, the theme is going to be here. What is the Nachash trying to do? What is Chava trying to do? And what does Adam fit in after the fact? Okay, to take us back a minute to introduce how Uri Sharkey does this, let's go back to this perek when when Hashem creates man. So we're on pasuk Zayin in this perek bet. Vayitzer. Remember, we use that intermediate term, Hashem Elohimno, but now both names of God, Et Ha'adam, Afar Min Adama, from the earth, and then Vayipach Be'apav Iblu Nishmat Chaim, the Ramban told us that is the Neshama, but now we have Vayihi Ha'adam Lenefesh Chaya. We are going to define, for purposes of tonight, Nefesh Chaya has three parts. It has the divine prophetic knowledge, that connection to God that comes from above. It has our worldly scientific knowledge, and it has our emotions and our spirit and our feelings. And so for tonight, the Nachash represents the worldly knowledge. Chava represents the spirit, the feelings, the passion, and Adam represents revealed knowledge. And Adam, okay, let's now go down and sort of begin. Last pasuk. We said we were going to start on the last pasuk. So this is, they became one, and now the family unit would re-begin itself after a man and his wife started a family. So now it says, Vayush nehem arumim, ha'adam v'ishto. They were both naked. That's the way we've always understood it. Both of them. V'lo yigboshashu, and we've always understood it, and they were not ashamed. That's the way we've always understood it from the word busha. But but the milat mafteach here, the key word here isn't so much the topic of busha, but the milat mafteach is arumim. What if we free ourselves? Arumim is naked here. Arumim naked. What if we free ourselves from always just saying the word naked as we understand it without clothes, but as the naked as I'm naked before the criticism, I'm naked before the abuse, etc., etc. I was going to start going on and on. So then Reb Sharkey says, look, what do we think? They have clothes? Of course they don't have clothes. They were just created. What are we talking about clothes? So for him, arumim means they did not have bodies. They did not have bodies. And now, I wrote this in the notes to bound this. And so between now and later on in Perek Gimel, what did I say it was in the notes? 21? After all of this, here it is, right? Vayas Hashem Elokim le'adam, and God made, the word Vayas, le'adam u'li'ishto, both of them, and it's not ha'adam now, it's Adam, the person, and his wife. Kotnot or vayalbishem. This is where man was given a body. This is where he was given skin. And the Ibn Ezra actually says that that's one opinion of the medievals. And so he continues here. This is the moment that man enters history. This is the moment that man enters the world, so to speak, the real world. Okay. And now, Jeff, here it comes. Vayal bishem. That's that word that you and Deborah constantly explore, of the power of the levush. Because it could have just said, Vayas Hashem Elokim L'Adam L'Ishto Kotnot Or. He gave them skin, right? Why does it say, and clothe them or dress them? So that introduces us to this term of levush. Levush sometimes reveals, sometimes hides. It becomes a powerful metaphor for moral thought. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go back and figure out, what does Yit Boshashu mean? So we said by Moshe Rabbeinu in Perek Lamed Bet, it meant to come late. We showed last time in a pasuk in Shoftim that it meant long, meaning long in time, the same thing as late. So Reb Sharki suggests here, they had no bodies, they would not stay in that state long. That's how he explains it and introduces us to this moral development. The story is the moral development. Now there's a play on words. Next word, Vanachash haya arum. We just had arum as in naked, and now we have the word arum as in meaning something else. I just shifted it. Let's look at unklos. It's better in Hebrew. So first of all, how do you say nachash in Aramaic? Everyone see this here? Vichavya? Does everyone see that? Chivya? Here, does everyone see this over here? Everyone, I'm circling this. Jeff, do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, doesn't that remind you of Chava?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But let's jump to the V'chivya hava chakim. What does chakim mean? Chacham. So Orma in the Tanakh. See here, I object to their translation. It just says cunning, right?
Right.
And here it says shrewd. So really, really, in modern Hebrew, we use the word orma in a negative term. In biblical Hebrew, it was chokhmah. So here, look at a pasuk in Proverbs.
Okay.
Chapter 8, Ani chokhmah shachanti orma. I, wisdom, live with orma. I live next to orma, meaning wisdom, prudence. I attain knowledge and foresight. V'dat mezimot emtza. So Reb Sharki says, if we're talking about the smartest animal of all animals, mikol chayat hasadeh. So by the way, he points out it says sadeh. Why does it use the term sadeh? Field, right? Because the field is the barrier, right? The intermediate between the wild and the city. We have the field. So therefore, by the way, also, who wants to tell me what does linachesh mean in Hebrew? The word linachesh, anyone?
Okay.
So the same shoresh, we usually use it in modern Hebrew to mean to guess. So Reb Uri Sharkey says, when you guess, you are trying to reveal something hidden. So here we're talking about a scientist, a person that had worldly knowledge. That's his approach to this, a person. I'm saying the three parts of Nefesh Chaya, of the Adam, this was the worldly the worldly knowledge. Hashem Elokim, Vayomer El Haisha. So he starts chatting with the wife. He says, Af. So Af here would probably mean, right? See, did everyone see? It's like saying, I'm circling it here in Unclus in the English. It's like saying, really? Really? You're just starting a conversation. Really?
Okay.
But what is the other meaning of the word af?
Goddess.
Anger.
Af. Yes, like charon af. Now, to be completely honest here, look over here. See, this is a patach. Everyone sees it's just a line, a patach underneath the dot there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So charon af, anger, is with a kamatz, but it doesn't matter. There's still an association. There's an association. Okay, there's a fun, and so he's coming and really engaging her and saying, but he's trying to mask the fact that the nivra, the created entity, the nivra, has a certain anger that he can't be closer to the bore. He wants to be right next to God. So that's that association. Afki amar Elokim lo tochlu mikol etz hagan. Is it true that God said don't eat from any of the trees? That's basically what she said. So she responds to him. No, she says, Vatomer Aisha el anachash. By the way, have you seen any conversation between Adam and Chava up to date?
No, no.
Yeah, so you're right. So here is the beginning of a conversation between the three parts of the human. Vatomer Haisha el anachash mipri etz hagan nochal. Yes, nochel. Yes, we eat all the fruits, and now there's one fruit, and the fruit mipri, and she says it correctly. Mipri haetz asher betoch hagan amar Elokim lo tuchlu mimenu. But then she adds, so, and the fruit of the tree that's in the middle of the garden, God said, don't eat of it. But then she adds, velo tigubo, and not touch it. Pentamutun, lest you die. Okay? So we don't know why she added the don't touch.
Mhm.
We don't know. So it's possible, if we want to say that maybe that's what Adam relayed to her, because remember when in Perek Bet, God gave him this commandment even before he split man in half in that Perek. We don't know, or they were putting just a fence around the Torah. We don't know. But when we come back to the Mefarshim,
Isn't it possible that the woman was laying a trap here for the serpent? So she put it in or touch it, knowing that if you touch it, nothing, as far as we know, happens. So she was giving an in for the serpent to make a big mistake, right?
so if, as I recall, so I hear you, Jeff, and that's good. As I recall, the Midrash flips what you just said, and once she said that, then the Nachash got her to touch it, and he showed her, look, nothing
Right.
happened to
And
you.
we blame it on the
Yeah.
serpent, but here I
Yeah.
see that the serpent is the one who sucked her in, so to speak. She is the one who opened the door here for so it wasn't the serpent according
Right,
to
right. And so yes, so right. And I think we'll get to that when we swing around to the various different approaches to this. Right now we're
okay, sorry.
going through it with Reb Sherky's version of this. So what is when Nachash says, his response to her is, no, it's not so much you see what happens, you don't touch it, and nothing happens to you, but he says, lo motemutun. So remember, we reread the Ramban last week, in which the Ramban said that the idea isn't that they would live forever. It was made from dust. He said that last week. The idea is now he would have the burden of sin. And so there's another component to the deterioration in your life besides the body breaking down. It's your moral fiber breaking down. He says, no, it won't. You won't die immediately. He's back to that one, which doesn't really apply. And he's back to, hey, you could be like God. Why wouldn't you want that? Why is that not a moral the reason he told you not to eat it. What's the word pikeach mean? So here your eyes will be open, but pikeach, you'll have knowledge. Pikeach, it means knowledge. You'll have awareness. So even now at this point, did the Nachash say anything that's not true? Did the Nachash say anything that's not true? Okay, hold it open. But now they added, they kind of almost for us, almost complicated a little, because now she's looking at it. What is she thinking? She's not thinking about the ethical and moral issues. It says, it just, Rashi and all the others say, she thought maybe it was poison and we can't eat it because it's poison. And now she's looking at this and saying, no, it can't be that argument. What's this v'chita avahu la'einayim? A delight to the eye. What does Unclos says? Was appealing to look at as a means of obtaining wisdom. See how Unclos keeps us back on track, that Chava was picking Eitz HaChaim here. She was picking the choice of, I don't want to be God. I want to have the knowledge to be a good person in order to serve God. Maybe. Okay? So, v'nechmad eitz lahaskil. What does he say? That's that one, of obtaining wisdom, right? Obtaining wisdom. Vatikach mi piryo vatochal. So it says she took of the fruit vatochal. So let's use the metaphor, for example, that the tree is the means and the fruit is the goal. Okay, if I take of the fruit in order to achieve this wisdom, that's okay. If I make wisdom the end goal for my own self, then I've confused or blurred, right? The ethical, so to speak. So we have Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara going around here, and they were calling it Etz and Pri, and we're calling it Etz Adat and Etz Chaim, and they all have certain similarities. So now it says finally, Vatiten gam leisha ima vayochal. So what does the word ima mean here? It says with her, right? Look at Unclos. The English translation here ignores that. But in Unclos, it says with her. With her. What is that suggesting? Again, this word here, ima, that is he physically present? And over here, Unclos, at the end on the right, says with her. with her argument? What
Well,
does ima
it's
mean?
simultaneous ingestion. No.
So I initially would think if she had this motive, Nechmad ha'etz lahaskil, I want to achieve this knowledge, maybe ima suggests that he does too. He shares that goal. All right, so let's keep going. Again, so the wisdom came down on them, and they savayedu ki erumim hem. But now we don't have to say naked and shame and everything. We could say now they know that they're vulnerable in that they've sinned, right? That's that's what the naked means here. Vait peru alete. Look, it's here. It's they both sowed, but it says where's the circle? Ale, it's not plural here. It's really a singular. Aleteina, not which is very interesting. The English doesn't catch that here. It just says leaves. Vayasu lehem chagorot. What's a chagorah? What's a belt? A belt is something, now that they've achieved that this knowledge, is something that at least metaphorically separates between the lower world and the upper world. So that's their state here. They have an awareness of their sin, and they've begun some initial form of tikkun. They've begun some form of tshuva with these chagurot, and we can talk more about that more, and you can tell me your thought on that. And now a very, very strange verse, because a lot of anthropomorphisms here, right? Vaishma'u, and so now as part of their awareness, as part of their knowledge, and as part of their actions, now they hear the voice of Hashem Elokim mitalech bagan, walking through the Ruach Hayom. So immediately Unclos tries to solve the text a little. They heard the voice of the word of Hashem Elokim move. The voice of the word is moving in the garden of the breeze in the evening of the day. The Ruach Hayom, he's calling this. And now, what's this Vayitchabeha Adam v'Ishto, that they hid themselves? The man and his wife hid themselves from the presence, right? Not from, it's not like there's a thing there that you're hiding from the presence of Hashem. Bitoch etz agan, right? Again, we have the word bitoch, which is, again, the center, taking us back to the place of the sin. So now Hashem says to them, Ayeka, right? Vayikra Hashem Elokim el Adam vayomer lo Ayeka. So all of the Meforshim, and we'll go through them next time, actually say Ayeka is a soft word. So he knows they're afraid, and he says, where are you? Where are you? Calm down. Everything's okay. I'm here. Don't be afraid. He's really, Ayeka is a soft word. But we can say, now that we have this metaphor, as we said, for finding our place in relation to God, he's saying, now that you have sinned, now that you have found this knowledge, what is your new identity? What is your new identity? So this, I want to point out to you guys that this idea of pursuit of something for the right or wrong reasons will hold true for us when we read about Cain and Hevel in the next perek, and it'll hold true for us when we read about Migdal Bavel, when they build the tower. All of these things could have been good things. Could have been good things. So now we have this pasuk the man speaks. The man speaks. Vayomer et kulcha shamati bagan va'ira. Right, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and of course, Unclos doesn't want to make it physical. He says, I heard the voice of your word in the garden and your presence in the garden. I was afraid because, right, because I was naked, meaning naked meaning vulnerable, meaning not morally clothed, etc., etc. So that we've gotten away just from everything being the nakedness of the body, but now it's the nakedness of my situation. And so I hid. And we'll have to say, well, what was he thinking? What does hiding mean? Okay. Hashem says, okay, moving the dialogue along. So how did you know all of this, right? Vayomer mi yigid lecha ke'iro mata. He's kind of leading into it. It's not a trap, right? It's a form of deposition. And so he says, Amina etz asher siviticha lebilti achol mimenu achalta. So did you eat of the tree from which I had forbidden you to eat? So Reb Sharki makes a distinction here. Hashem didn't say use the word pri. Hashem uses the word etz. He's saying that Chava wanted to be spiritual and she ate the pri. Adam wanted to be God, so it's as if he ate the etz. Did you eat of it? Now we're going to see the responses. So we just did the deposition. We just did the charge. Did you eat from the tree that I told you not to, right? Did you eat from it? So what does Adam claim? And what does the wife claim? And why doesn't Hashem ask anything of the Nachash, right? He just, so that, right? He didn't ask, he didn't let the Nachash speak, right? So Vayomer Ha'adam, what does he say, man? Ha'isha asher natata imadi. He natna li mina etz va'ocher. So let me translate. The woman that you gave to me, your biggest gift to me, she gave me of the tree and I ate. So what was his defense? Someone help me? Someone? I was incited, right? His defense is incited. We're going to come back to this in a second. And now let's go to the woman. What does she say? Vayomer Hashem Elokim la'isha, right? Mazot asit. What did you do? Vatomer ha'isha. She didn't say my motives were good. I meant well. She said, Vayomer ha'nachash hishiani va'ocher. What was her defense here? The serpent incited me. So both of them have the same defense. Come back to Adam now. Come back to him. But what he said, ha'isha asher natata imadi. There's a double whammy here. You know, the first time you make a sin, you could say it's a mistake and it's forgivable. But Adam made a second mistake here. What's the second mistake?
God created her. For him, it was
right.
God's fault.
So it is lack of hakarat tov, lack of appreciation. His second sin here is lack of appreciation to God for giving him his wife, which was the greatest gift that God could have given. So Adam comes out of this. Okay, the first one you might have claimed incitement, but this one, what's the tikkun for hakarat tov? What's the tikkun for lack of hakarat tov? Extra hakarat tov. That's like saying Hallel. It's like saying Hallel is we're trying to do a tikkun for this when we thank God for everything. So now we're getting to the punishment. So we get to the Nachash. So let's remember when they came as Nefesh Chaim, all three of these folks were at eye level. They were equal. We're going to walk out of this is that the Nachash is on the bottom, earthly knowledge. The Isha is going to subjugate to the man is in the middle. and then the heavenly prophetic knowledge is hierarchical. When we started this, they were equal. They were all equal. Nefesh Adam. So Vayomer Hashem Elokim El Nachash. Ki asita zot. In other words, he didn't get to say anything. So I think Rashi was the one that tells us here. Right. From here, we infer that we should not occupy ourselves with. It would have answered him with the words of the teacher, and those of the pupil are contradictory. If you told them one and they should not have obeyed you. He could have used this, but he incited. The person that incites is denied, even denied the defense here. I thought it was Rashi, but okay. Since you did that, you're going to be lowest in this total pool. In this thing, you're going all the way down to earth. And you'll eat, and dirt will you eat your whole life. Okay, we still have time. So the equality and the equanimity that came out of Nefesh Chaya, Nefesh Chaya, or came out of Perek Aleph, however you want to say it, okay, has now been changed. Hu Yeshivcha Rosh, they will strike at your head and you will strike at their heel. So now we're using the metaphor, of course, of a snake. Now, can I say here that the wife's only mistake wasn't that she ate of it, because she just wanted to do the right thing, but her only mistake was that she gave it to her husband to eat without her knowing whether he wanted it for the right or wrong reasons too. And we'll see that in a second too. Elai Isha Amar Harbe Arbe Etzvonech Veheronech Be'etzev Teldi Banim. So he said, Vel Ishech Chukatech Vuim Sholbach. So he said to the wife, you're going to be in charge of the family, and I'm going to make giving birth difficult, and I'm going to make, being in charge of the home difficulty. And you'll be second fiddle, it says here. Your urge shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. That's what it says here. He says that's how we're coming out of the fact that, but in fact, Chava only caused a sin here, her husband's sin. She didn't really sin. We're going to see if we can see that in the text. And finally to man, Ki shamata lekol ishtecha, because you listen to the voice of your wife, vatochal min ha'etz asher tziviticha, and it says from the tree, not from the pri, asher tziviticha, lemor lo tochal mimenu. Your motivations for participating in this were not right. So therefore, he says, you come from the ground, and now the ground, arura dama bavurech, the ground will be difficult and cursed for you. So the wife is in charge of the family, you're in charge of parnasa, you're in charge of being the farmer, and it's going to be difficult, and that's very, very different than Gan Eden. And he goes on, these are terms that we use today a lot. Thorns and thistles shall it sprout for you, the ground, and you'll produce food through this difficulty. And through this difficulty, right? This is another very known verse. From the sweat of your brow shall you eat bread, until you return to the adama, to the ground. Ki mimena lakachta, that's where you, ki afarata velafarta shuv, that's where you were taken from. And so we have the mix, right, of adama and afar, and we talked about that at a previous time. And Vaikra Adam Shem Ishto Chava, Ki hi hayta em kol chai. So now we have not seen conversation, an intimate conversation between Adam and Chava, because how can you have some intimate conversation if someone doesn't have a name to you, right? And like I say, Jeff, there's a we're going to talk about Levush tonight. So from here on in, this is going to be the beginning of communication between Adam and Chava. Ki hi kol chai, famous, right? She was the mother of all living things. She was in charge of the home. She's in charge of having compassion for the whole cosmos. So here's the verse that I bounded it for you. Here, Vayas Hashem Elokim. So here we are after the sin and after the.
Cover that? Didn't we already
No, I
say?
read it earlier. I bounded it, Jeff. I jumped here earlier. I jumped.
Oh, you jumped.
I bounded it. I was going to say, Arumim at the beginning, they had no body. And I said, here is the point in the parak where they get a body.
Okay.
That was the bounding of what happened in Gan Eden, and everything else that happens from here on in is man with a body, or as Uri Sharkey said, man has entered history. Man has entered the same relationship with God that we have. So, but now here's a verse that we have to struggle with. Here's a verse that we have to struggle with. Vayomer Hashem Elokim hen ha'adam haya ke'echad mimenu. So there's two ways we can read this. So hen is like saying indeed. It's an affirmation. So he's basically validating what the snake said. He's sort of saying, but what does ha'adam haya ke'echad mimenu? So there's two, see this word mimenu, right? So I want to start with the first way we're going to say this. Let's look in Rashi. Let's look in Rashi here. Or maybe even start with Unclus. So look, I'm circling it here. You see how Yechidai be'alma, alone in the world. Adam's motivation, Adam's motivation was to be God. The man has become like one of us, unique. Right? Now let's jump to Rashi. Rashi says, is become like one of us, like the being who is one, unique amongst us. Lo, he is unique amongst the terrestrial ones, even as I am unique among the celestial ones. And in what does his uniqueness consist? In knowing good and evil, which is not so in the case of cattle and beasts. But so must be someone else I saw when I was covering all of these, is that Adam, so one way of reading this is the mimenu here of us. This mimenu of us could be of all mankind. This guy wants to declare himself unique among all mankind, and that's a terrible sin. Or just like Hashem said in Perek Aleph, Na'aseh Adam, right? Let us in Menu. Here he's talking about to all the celestial beings that he on earth has become like us, Lada Tov V'Ra. Now, the continuation is as we know it. And now, Pen Yishlach Yado, next thing he'll know is he'll touch his hand, V'Lakach Gam Ye'etz HaChaim. If he eats from the tree of life, then he would, therefore, V'Achal V'Chai La'olam, and he would live forever. He would live forever. So we have a little bit of an understanding of Adam's motivations being very, very different than Chava. So now Vayishalchehu. So Vayishalchehu means he sent. But when the Ibn Ezra says Vayishalchehu Hashem Elokim mi Gan Eden, so when you send something from, he says that's indeed a form of Gerush, which Gerush is exile, a banishment, a punishment. That right from, he has to go outside of the garden now to work the land, and that's He is from the land. He is from the earth. And so finally the parak ends. Indeed, it says, Vayigaresh et Adam, right? So, like building up to that, Vayashken mikedem, legan Eden et hakruvim v'et lav acherev hamitapechet. So God placed, after we were displaced from Gan Eden, he put east of it, right, east of the Garden of Eden, he stationed the kruvim, which we can think of course, any way we want, but also as just angels. We've discussed kruvim have several meanings. But now Uri Sharki gave a little different explanation for lahat hacherev hamita pechet. Lahat, of course, means fire, right? Cherev is normally something straight. Now that Adam has mixed up means and ends, mixed up service with wanting something for yourself, mixed up morals, so therefore the sword becomes circular. Lahat hacherev hamita pechet, the sword becomes inverted into litapech, means to turn it over, to turn it upside down, to like a mapichaz, a revolution. So the straight sword becomes a circular sword, and that's the lishmor derech etz chaim. Then that guards the way to the tree of life. So that was his presentation. So maybe I'll stop share for a second and stop the recording maybe, and I'll continue with some, how do I stop the recording? Let me just try Control P, is it? Does that work?
No.
Oh, there it is, just there.